Sriharsha, I have to say that uh, it has taken me how many years to get you to have a conversation with me?
Only less than 2 years.
No, I think more than 2 years. And I have been chasing you. How? And today, so honored, excited, and honestly, little nervous to be talking to you because of two reasons. One, Swiggy is a brand that we all absolutely love. And to us, you feel like apna Bangalore entrepreneur, Bangalore boy. You define all that is good about the Indian startup ecosystem and Bangalore, and it's exciting. It's a little intimidating because it's the first conversation that we are doing, but. Joining, telling everyone who is joining, this is an exciting opportunity. We are all users of Swiggy, the brand Sriharsha and his team has built. First question to you is that, how do you build a product with a DNA and a DNA that has stayed so true, so consistent, and a brand that becomes ubiquitous for anything related to food in our country? How have you built that, Sriharsha?
All right. Firstly, Shraddha, thank you so much to you and Your Story for having me over at the event. It's the rare times that I come out of my cave to speak, but I'm really, really excited to come and talk in Yay Bangalore. It's been a city that I've really fallen in love with over the last 7-8 years. Wouldn't have it any other way over there. As for like the question that you asked on the Swiggy DNA, right? I think one of the things, and we just did like a values refresh session yesterday in the company where, our town hall was entirely just talking about, the Swiggy values, what we stand for, who we are, etc. So all of this is fresh on my mind, right? Even on the day we started or before the day we started, we were very, very clear that this has to be a company known for its customer service and the focus on customer service. That's just generally been a part of who we are. And most of our journey at Swiggy has been just scaling along the journey while making sure we don't fail anymore for the scale that we get at. And, but as for the DNA or who we are, Swigsters are at the core, spiking on 2-3 things. One of it is humility. That's one of our core values. Then the other one is curiosity, which is also another of our values. And the third one is authenticity, or being like honest and displaying the highest levels of integrity. So this is the Swiggy DNA in a nutshell. Apart from that, maybe the other angle that I'll add is think big, which means you have to keep tinkering to figure out, a bunch of unknowns. And generally, as founders, core team members, we have a lot of affinity to wandering. And maybe that's Swiggy DNA in a nutshell for you.
Yeah, and when you're saying this humility, authenticity, it definitely, everyone watching would definitely agree with me that it resonates, and the brand, the product stands for what you're saying. And Sriharsha, that brings me to the question that Swiggy has innovated a lot over the years, and we see that, we experience that, we use that. How do you maintain this culture of constant innovation in a market which is becoming more and more demanding, at the same time retain that love for the core product that users have? How do you do that? How do you balance that?
Right. As for the first question on the culture of innovation, I think that's just who we are. Like I said, our founders, core team, all of us have this huge, crazy love for tinkering, saying that let's kind of push the boundary, let's reimagine what is possible here. And that tinkering comes with the Kira saying, let's go and put something out there. And to that tune, there are always 1 second. Sorry, I just have to come back. My net is off.
Okay, he'll be back in 30 seconds. He told us before this that the light might go. Oh, he's back before 30 seconds. Okay,
as promised. So Goa's been having connectivity issues, but yes. Yeah. Cool. So yeah, that wandering is really who we are, and that means that we're always putting a host of things out there, and it also comes with a huge tax, because wandering and putting ambiguous things out there means that you're going to fail a lot more, and you have to bear the cross for that through trying times. And even with our journey of wandering for the last couple of years, starting 2018-19, we put a bunch of things out there. Each of them had like varying levels of success, and some kind of completely bombed in the context of like COVID and more. And it was a time of deep reflection for us. And obviously, there are big questions, voices in your head, if this is a feature or a bug. And there were times when you would have thought that maybe tinkering is a bug. But over time, I guess after having now come out of the COVID crisis, seeing what Instamart is able to do for our consumers, I'm very, very convinced now, like super convinced. I was always convinced, like now super convinced that it is a feature, not a bug. It's just a core of who we are. We're going to keep putting things out there. A few of them will fail. Some of them will become spectacularly big, very few of them. But that's just who we are. So we'll keep tinkering through the rest of our journey. As for your second question on how do you keep innovating while making sure the core is protected, that is something that I would say that we're still kind of perfecting the balance of. It's never easy because as the company expands its overall mission, and then you're going in multiple specific adjacencies, you have to constantly make sure that there's enough balance to continuously innovate even on the first business while giving the love as sunlight to the new businesses. Even for entrepreneurs, it's a hard one. There's no other way except learning by doing in your head. Like you have to be clear on, okay, what are the core focus areas for the year and how do I spend my time, or how much leverage do we have in terms of key management thinking through this. So it's not easy, but mostly we've learned our lessons through trial and error.
I have to bring this quote of yours. You said, growth is about learning and evolving with the different variables and moving parts. We today, I hope we are out of the pandemic. I really hope. But, Sriharsha, Swiggy saw 18 months and last year, when we went for the lockdown, it was very, very difficult at times and very, very hard times. Tell us the internal, if there was an internal playbook that got evolved of how to navigate this tough time, because every entrepreneur goes through tough time, but you guys not only evolved, but you stayed strong. And then in so many cases, you were the people who were there for users, for consumers. And here in Bangalore, one can say, right? Like, how did you do that?
I guess we didn't have much of a playbook for the last time because honestly, it was not only like a crazy event for the entire universe, like where things were really hard, but even on a micro level, Swiggy's generally had like such a generally one-sided trajectory where for the first 6 years, touch wood, we had like a really, really up kind of journey. So for us, it was like the first time we were thrown completely into a crucible. Which is interesting because then a lot of things come to the fore. Then you're tested in ways that you weren't tested earlier. So I keep telling people that I built 99% of my life's character in the last 1.5, 2 years. It's just been quite crazy. And it's also helped Swiggy be a lot more anti-fragile in terms of thinking about what comes next. We, of course, did a few basics, right? Taking care of like our internal employees and well-being, and even though a few of them were affected, which was unfortunate, apart from that, it was just kind of being there for the consumers and doing the best that we could. But we have a lot of learnings for the next time in terms of what to do during peacetime to prepare for a wartime again. So most of the work for us is to, okay, now what do we do, making the most of it? We were tested in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things. How are we going to be built to last by taking all of these learnings? What are contingency plans? Do we have succession? Do we have like an over-reliance on only like a few sets of talent? Did we take enough care of the ecosystem along with ourselves? All of these are, I guess, learnings that came a good kime, which we're reflecting on and really, really, taking learnings from that to be the best versions of ourselves.
Yeah, but Sriharsha, एक चीज तो कहना पड़ेगा that Swiggy built it right over the last 6 years because and we don't know what happened inside and how you guys managed it. But outside, as consumers, we knew that, and then, so many young people I know in the lockdown and later, that they relied on Swiggy was the lifeline, right? Where people knew that you'll get food, and then food will come to you. And that brings me to a question, that there are certain fundamental building blocks you as the founder, you as, and then your company has built, which seems very right to us, which seems very strong and sturdy to us. One or two things that you can tell us that while people are building their businesses, they should be cognizant of.
I think one or two things maybe that we do right amongst the list of things that we need to be doing are, again, it's going back to like that authenticity and focus on the long term. I think as a brand, we are who we are. We have our strengths, we have our failings, but we always have our learnings. And just, I guess, that authenticity, being clear to yourself and to the organization about who we are, who we are not. I think it's very hard for us to put on a face that we aren't. And that, I think, is something that we're very, very proud of. And that just authenticity cascades through multiple parts. We may fail a bunch of times, but I think we'll always take those as opportunities. And apart from that, I think just thinking about the long term, even during the lockdown, when obviously we were staring at like maybe 1/5 of our regular volumes, and not sure when things were going to get back again. Even at that time, I think we made choices to actually focus off even the reduced investment we're making. 50-60% of what we were doing was still to preserve the long term. While there was enough tension in terms of like how will we actually get this all right, we still had an eye on the long term, saying, of course, like right now we're going through a crisis and food deliveries down, but at the same time, it'll come out eventually, and we still have to go play for the next 10-15 years. And I guess that, yeah, the authenticity and focus on the long term are probably two things we do more right than others.
Yeah, because it's very difficult. It's very difficult to be long-term thinking when you are executing on an everyday basis.
It is a furnace.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to ask you. You launched Instamart last August, and of course, like I have to say this, I'm an everyday Instamart user.
Awesome.
And I'm banking on the the very small ticket size delivery of groceries. Just want to get a sense from you, how is it doing? Because again, this is an extremely competitive space. So tell us, how has it taken off in India?
I'll maybe take on the competitive space first. Swiggy was born in the middle of a war. And I think we've been at competition for so long as I can remember. So that's just now. And as you have great competition also, it means that you're always on your toes. It'll actually help us in every other business that we do. So competition is, I guess, going to be there. India is an exciting market. So I think that doesn't deter us too much anymore. But now going back to Instamart, right? Like I was already mentioning it. But before I go to Instamart, I want to talk about like the company's mission, the dream, right? For us, our mission is to elevate the quality of lives of urban consumers by delivering unparalleled convenience. So convenience is really what makes us tick, and that's what makes us wake up, get out of our bed and say, hey, let's do this. And overall vision for the company is, to have like 100 million users transacting 15 times a month at some point in the next 10-15 years. It's a once in a lifetime opportunity for Swiggy. The canvas is amazing. From the 100 million-ish kind of convenience seeking users today, as the middle class develops, we assume that 500 million of these users are going to be around. So everything that we do, we think of in that context. 10-15 years out, we have to keep building ferociously to really, really do justice to that scale when it comes. Now coming back to Instamart, I think since the launch of the food delivery, business in 2014, this is one business again where it seems like the size of the opportunity is uncapped at this time, given how much love we are seeing for the consumer offering and what we are seeing in like the repeat frequencies and retention and what it does to the overall platform, etc. So from a point where, one second, sorry, Shreya.
No.
So from a point where we just launched in 2 cities in August 2020, we're now in 15 plus cities, and we'll continue to expand a little bit more over the next few quarters. And we've grown 30, 40 times in the last year since the business has launched. And this our focus is going to be on improving the service levels even further. There's always so many opportunities. And to just keep giving that impeccable service, we have a first mover advantage. We're kind of really in a strong position today, but we just can't take that for granted because it is a very exciting opportunity. I think it will really transform some of the consumption patterns for
Yeah.
Indians.
Yeah, and I think in some small way it would have already done that, right?
Yes, absolutely. I think
Yeah.
there is, it's not actually ultra small. So our average order values are actually larger than the food delivery business. So it's
Yeah.
not, really small ticket sizes also. So consumers come for a top up need, but also end up adding a few other things that they would have waited for a stock up. So there is a behavior change. When was the last time folks ordered grocery like once a day? And you're not like an anomaly. There are enough consumers who are actually finding a use for it because, okay, I need this, let me get something else, etc. So it is super, super exciting, but very, very early. Such high frequency e-grocery hasn't been seen in India until date. So I guess we're
Yeah.
just still at seeing the tip of the iceberg. Can't wait to see what lays in store.
Yeah, no. As users, we can just say thumbs up. Brilliant.
Thank you.
Sriharsha, just for our understanding, food delivery business, if you see globally, generally broadly has been categorized as one which is more of B2B restaurant related businesses looking at diner loyalty. And then there is the other one which is more delivering to the customers and bringing food home. One, is that a correct assumption? Because we just think Zomato and other players would be in the first, and Swiggy is in the second category, different category. Tell us that now, is there a blurring of the line when it comes to these kind of bifurcations? And if yes, then where would you say Swiggy today operates? And if no, then what was the reason behind the decision that you took to take Swiggy in this path, in the other path?
The understanding is all right, but again, like when you take local nuances, there are players in Colombia who are doing delivery, but also payments. There are players in another part of the world that are also doing something else. So I would say it's still a local phenomenon. You can start as a dining out player and then do food delivery like Zomato has. For us, we started with food delivery, but are doing something else. For us, the world doesn't revolve around delivery as much as the mission statement that I talked about, elevating the quality of life, unparalleled convenience. So delivery is one way of giving convenience, but hopefully you'll see us do a lot more beyond delivery, staying true to that specific kernel of an insight. So I think it will come down to one, what is your mission statement, but two, what is also the right to win, right? Just because anything fits into the mission statement doesn't mean that you have a right to win. There is a competitive space. What is the problem that we can uniquely solve as Swiggy? So 2-3 things are important before we take decisions on where to go big. It'll have to be, this comes from like a book, Good to Great, I think, where we mentioned that one of this is, what are you like insanely passionate about? The second one is, what can you be the best in the world at? And 3, what can be a driver of your economic engine? A bunch of these have to be right for you to even feel strongly enough to get into something. So we have a healthy fear of things we don't understand or we're not passionate about, just because we can also do it. So,
Yeah. But we are looking forward to all the new things, big things that you would be coming out. But at least they are going to be a lot of different things that would be
there's
coming
going
out.
to be a bunch of things coming over the next few quarters. Excited
Yeah.
for that.
I wish you could call those out, but we'll wait. Uh, the next question, and then this is more when it comes to understanding the Indian consumer, India as a market. There's always been this question that the ticket size, the wallet share in a country is nowhere close to what we would see in US or what we would see in China or in different markets in Western markets. I want to understand, Sriharsha, in the last 7 years, that you've been, building and operating in the market, what are some of the changes that you've seen when it comes to Indian consumer behavior? And what does it talk about the domestic Indian market?
See, I think we're at a very, very early stage for outside eating in general and food delivery even furthermore. I think India is at a very interesting stage in overall eating outside food journey. If you compare it to like some of the countries in the East, like China or Singapore, Hong Kong, Thailand, and even the US and UK, right? The consumers in the strata of society who use convenience services eat outside food 40 times plus a month. Whereas in India, we're still in kind of the high single digit territory. And that's going to change. And that's like a cultural change that every country goes through as the economic conditions generally get better, people get more time strapped. And it's very interesting that even though India's outside eating itself is still underdeveloped, it's growing still, it's not exactly matured, food delivery came at a very, very early stage of that journey. So we're going to see that massive increase in outside eating consumption overall. And food delivery will actually take a much larger share of the overall outside eating compared to other countries in the world. So that for us is super interesting. And in terms of like the needs of consumers, etc., so long as a company is able to really solve a consumer's problem, then there are enough consumers today who are willing to pay a price for that convenience. And while I said that it'll slowly keep growing, that is what it comes down to. For example, we had a previous offering with Swiggy stores, which we kind of iterated on to do Instamart. For the Swiggy stores offering, it had its problems. It wasn't exactly as efficient as what consumers imagined. When you can get that, they're not going to pay you for that kind of convenience offered. When you upgrade it and you really offer unparalleled convenience, then it unlocks the willingness to pay for the consumers of the ability to pay. So I'd say that for food overall, it's still super early days. Just for instance, like in India, the overall food industry to grocery industry, the grocery industry is 14 times larger than the restaurant industry. Whereas in the US or China, in the US, like 4 or 5 years back, the restaurant industry became larger than the grocery industry. So all of these are very, very different cultural nuances. We have to be patient and indulge in the category development that is needed to keep growing the category.
Yeah. Sriharsha, compared to the US, China, when it comes to the take rate for the grocery and food delivery
Can't hear
platform,
you.
Can you? The take rates are higher. It's around 15.
Right.
I'm told it's around 15, 22%. I just want to get your view on this. Are there any structural reasons because of which we have this in our country?
Firstly, I think the understanding is a little off. When you talk about like single-digit percentage commissions, etc., that's only true if the platforms are not also offering the delivery services. In fact, for the players who also offer delivery, and it's a different story for the West and China. In the West, it actually tends to be meaningfully higher than the take rates in India for a lot of platforms, whether it is the US, UK, etc. Having said that, there are big structural differences, and a huge part of the commission that we charge from the restaurant on the order sizes, there are multiple things there. What is the order size of India? What is the restaurant density in India, which has an impact on the cost of delivery also? Because one of the things we keep saying is Beijing has more restaurants than all of India. So when you have that high a density of restaurants, it means that you can actually do a lot more deliveries in an hour. So it's a balance and it will keep progressing along the way. But I guess there are many structural things that impact the local long-term viable take rate of any business. So I guess factually, we are somewhere in the middle owing to these structural reasons. But we don't take that as just a given. There's always opportunities to do more. For example, we're trying to find creative solutions. We're working with our restaurant partners to see if there's an opportunity to give them like a reduced commission or a take rate when the order sizes go above a certain level. Again, speaking to one of our refreshed values called Think Win-Win. So a bunch of these are in the works.
Sriharsha, the space that you are building is also today creating a lot of employment, and especially for young people from small towns and cities of India. It is playing a very significant role when it comes to creating employment. I want to ask you uh, that what are some of the steps, what are some of the measures that you, initiatives that you've taken regarding the workforce, the people that work with you, and on their well-being, because we are hearing so many conversations in the last 1 year when it comes to people, who deliver. And the second thing is that, tell us, and I'm very curious, how do you build a business where the delivery is so efficient, it's so prompt, and I think there is a sense of pride that comes in the platform when you deliver before time. At least we get regular messages that it was delivered 7 minutes before time. So how do you do that?
Cool. I'll first take the first one, Shraddha. On day one, we actually started with only like 5, 6 delivery partners. And then over time, we've continuously scaled. And today we have more than 220,000 delivery partners active on the platform. So one is, it is a source of great excitement to be able to offer meaningful economic opportunities for a large group of individuals. But at the same time, we don't take our responsibility lightly here. And all of the conversations that you talked about is also useful for us to improve and get better. Along the way, we've done a bunch of changes. And however, I guess speaking for a bunch of us, like, we're still far from perfect. There's so many things that we have to continuously improve because the platform is growing and we have to keep up because the complexity of things also change. So actually, I would say a majority of the work that we do on the delivery partner side right now is to make sure that their in-order experience is incredibly effortless. What is the kind of support that you get from the Swiggy call center when you go call them? How do you actually give them much better clarity over the earnings, the payouts, helping them to get more opportunities to log in more and earn more, etc. So a lot of this is in the brilliant basics where we're covering a lot of ground, and you'll see more on that in the next few quarters. However, in addition, there are always other small pits in the delivery partner experience that we're also trying to solve. One of the things is, like, we just recently signed off a partnership with like Shell to enable our delivery partners to use their washrooms, because that is one big problem. Then we do other initiatives, like where we recently offered a paid time off for our women delivery partners to during their periods, and that allows us to also get more women delivery partners onto the fleet. Then we offer some other benefits like on-call doctors available for delivery partners and bereavement leaves. But I'd say that still overall, the majority of our work is going into like the core part of the job. Going back to an earlier question that you asked, how can we make that more effortless while we keep adding small vitamins on the side?
Yeah. Sriharsha, tell us about Swiggy Direct. Uh, I think you launched it a few months back, and this is where the restaurants can directly now, leverage Swiggy and deliver to the customers. A question: is it going to compete in some way, or is it going to be cannibalizing your core business? Because today the connection, the relationship is with Swiggy, and then you're directly giving the restaurants an opportunity to do that. How do you see this?
So direct again is a pilot that is in its very early stages. So the objective here is to just separate the lead generation benefit that we give to our restaurants apart from the delivery also. And for restaurants who are comfortable driving traffic on their own, we want to create an economically lot more attractive offering where they can still use the Swiggy platform to generate business for themselves. So we're not getting out of the entire fulfillment cycle with the payments, the fulfillment, the customer support is all still through Swiggy, but it's just a pilot to have restaurants drive traffic on their own to their storefront and be incentivized by much lower commissions or take rates for those because, well, they are generating the traffic in this case.
Yeah. Okay. Sriharsha, I have to ask you this question. I would not be doing justice to our conversation if I don't ask this question. That this is a historic year for Indian startups. We have 67 unicorns. We saw IPOs, and
Oh,
there are many
yes.
companies going for the IPO. And you had stated in past that there is, Swiggy doesn't have an immediate plan to go for an IPO. Want to ask you, has that changed? Is there any change from the last that we searched and found you saying? And uh, what does it mean for Swiggy now in this
No, I
hyper
think
growth market? Sorry.
hyper growth. Well, it is an unprecedented time for Indian startups. It's a very, very exciting time. Obviously, all the success that Zomato's found, and I'm sure other companies will find in the public market, is really exciting to see. At the same time, this doesn't change, right? For us, it's all about like what is our strategy, our investment calendar, and how does an IPO actually help us build an even better company. So to that end, even when I meant immediately, it was in the context of the next 3, 6, 9, 12 months. So even now, it's not going to be in less than 12 months, but beyond that, can't comment yet. It's still, we'll come back on that at the right time.
Okay, and we will be looking out for the right time because you have a lot of goodwill and well wishers and supporters in the market who love you, consumers who love the brand a lot. With
Thank you,
that,
sir.
my question to you is that what are some of, and HD Harsha shared some of those things. What are some of the big things, big new initiatives that we will be seeing from your team, from Swiggy in the coming months?
I think my lips are
What's
sealed here.
next?
My lips are
What's
sealed
next?
here, and we'll have to wait to see when they launch. A host of them actually don't even take off. So at this point, it's almost premature to talk about what will come out. But like I said, I think at the rate that we are sowing seeds, every quarter you should see us put something which we think is meaningful out there, and can't comment yet, but we'll come back to you soon as there's some exciting news to share.
I have to call this and say this, that once I was having and I've had many questions in my mind, and I've called you for some advice, and you give very, very genuine, high impact advice. And today, one question I want to ask on behalf of all the entrepreneurs, when you're building this company, the scale that you've achieved, the DNA that you have, what you said, authenticity, humility, and maintaining that at scale, Sriharsha, and you've done it remarkably. And then people in your team also talk about the way you function, where you're not, when everyone has a space and there are different people that we know in Swiggy. Just tell us uh, one or two things that you've done right when it comes to the building the culture, building the team at Swiggy.
It's the same things that are our values, Shraddha. It's just having that intellectual humility that I don't have all the answers. I can't probably be right myself often enough. So we call this subsection of one of our values, where we call about like having strong opinions but weakly held. Again, it's also borrowed from Amazon's ways of working, but that kind of really resonates with me and us overall. That specific intellectual humility that I don't have all the answers, I can be wrong a lot, and that just forces you to work with each other and keep finding ways to disprove yourself, because that way you will get closer to the truth as opposed to what you want. So that's probably the one thing that we do quite well as an org.
Yeah. One question I have on behalf of the ecosystem, that Swiggy raised first capital that you raised was through foreign domiciled VC. And now we are seeing in India investment coming from domestic investors. Rupee capital is coming. Do you see a change in the venture ecosystem?
Definitely, there are signs of change there, Shraddha. Even over the last 1-2 rounds, we have received interest from and also have had participation from some family offices, some really, really esteemed industrialists or entrepreneurs who have participated either directly or through AIF structures, where people bring together a lot of these family offices and HNIs together. So, and I think that trend is especially pronounced for late stage or pre-IPO tech companies. So we are seeing that. And I think maybe eventually they'll find their way back to earlier and earlier rounds. So it's a very interesting trend to watch out for.
Sriharsha, I can keep talking to you because this is a golden opportunity that has come after many years. But now I know that you are in Goa and you have worked and you've taken out time to do this. So let me quickly get into rapid fire questions. Ready?
Cool.
If you had to choose another career path apart from what you're doing, what would that be and why?
I think, again, depends on the year that we're discussing, but maybe over the last 12, 15 months, I've grown to this idea of hospitality, where there are so many beautiful places with character that belong 50, 60 years back that have a lot of potential in repurposing to make amazing living spaces in the cities today. So that's one passion project that I keep looking at. Every time we go to a new city or town and we see a really old, quaint property, we feel like, hey, there is maybe something there. So hospitality still, if you're speaking this year.
Okay. I know you are a voracious reader. So tell us and share with us some books. And I wouldn't say that recently that you've read, but books that have stayed with you.
Right. I think in the last year, the books that have really stayed with me, some of them are Thinking in Bets, which is an amazing one. I think it was your recommendation, actually. And then there was The Infinite Game by Simon Sinek, and Working Backwards, a peek into Amazon's way of working. A lot of that has helped me clarify my thinking and designing the org and designing how we work, etc.
Okay, we'll check this out. Yeah. What advice would you give to Sriharsha from 7 years ago if you had to go back and tell him something?
Go with the flow. I can't think of a very smart answer for this.
That too, you are anyways, you always went with the flow, no?
Yeah, maybe I wouldn't change too much.
Okay. Sriharsha, what has purpose meant to you and has it evolved over the years? And if yes, then how?
Yeah, for sure. I think when you are just a starry-eyed entrepreneur, there's just 2-3 of you. Your purpose is, I think, too fixated on the problem that you're solving for the consumer, saying, I want to make food delivery efficient, etc. And along the way, obviously, that expands some more to what is the overall company's mission statement. But you're still talking only about the company in the context of jobs to be done for a customer. And in that way, I think our purpose, and personally for me, has extended beyond just what job we do for the consumer to actually what kind of company we want to build. We want to build an enduring, iconic company out of India. And that is very dear to us. There is an opportunity to do something really special. And I keep talking about how like the Tata Group has done something, that goes through the sands of time. So that's like, there will be companies like that built with an imagery of reliability and trust. And a lot of these things, even in the internet generation, you want to be one amongst those brands that carry those tunes. So beyond that, the last part also, Shraddha, is I think over maybe again the last 1-2 years, I'm also thinking of the company's purpose beyond just the company or an organization, but our role in the ecosystem and the world we kind of live in. And talked about the think win-win value that I also mentioned. I think we have a lot to do, and I'm very focused on making sure we do that also right.
Yeah. Sriharsha, I have to again call this out that to us and to me, whatever interactions that we've done, you remind me that an entrepreneur can be so passionately attached and at the same time scale himself so much to create that kind of a culture where you're attached, but you're also multiplying so many leaders and being a little detached when it comes to growing your team, your company. And you've done that. Has it been a conscious decision, or you think that you were like that as a person, as an individual?
It's also convenient for me, unparalleled convenience for me, because I also want to spend a lot of my day stargazing and thinking about, I'm a tinkerer, like I said, and I do sometimes get bogged down by too many details. So I've kind of organized my life and the company's life around basically who we are. So it was not entirely like, I want to delegate, because delegation is good, because it just gives leverage. I'm not the best person to get like super operating, in the detail. I can do it, but I think my time is better used for the company also to do the things that I think I'm good at.
Yeah. It's clearly showing the way the company is moving. My last question to you: tell us about an opinion or a view that you hold very dearly, and people close to you, maybe your family, friends, or your circle, doesn't believe in that view.
Hmm. I think I shouldn't be like the face of the company and speaking too much in public. And that's where I get the most disagreement from the people around me saying that's a wrong view. We'll find out. I'm doing my A/B tests now, as you can see.
But I agree with your friends and family and people around you. Thank you so much, Sriharsha. This has been a super conversation and it's a start. And I hope the A/B testing goes well and we have more conversation because you have so much to give and so much to share. And honestly, we have to call out while we celebrate companies and talk about, the tech, the businesses and blah, blah that are being built. I think Swiggy is one company that we all in our country should feel super proud of. Built the right way, right culture, right product. Everyone loves it, keeps innovating, keeps improving. And as you said, born out of competition, but a mindset which is thinking forever. Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shraddha. It was an absolute pleasure.
Yeah,
Cheers.
and thank you to everyone today for joining. I hope you had a good time at TechSparks. Thank you.